Welcome to the Boomer Briefing Podcast, where we help you solve a critical business issue in 20 minutes or less. I'm your host, Marc Staut, Chief Innovation and Technology Officer at Boomer Consulting, and with me today is Shawn Fisher. Shawn is the Director of Internal Technology at REDW. Today we're going to be talking about building teams for success. Hello, Shawn, and thank you so much for being on this episode of the podcast.
Hey, good afternoon, Mark. I appreciate you having me on. It's always a great time when we have our discussions.
Absolutely. Shawn, why don't you introduce yourself for our audience and tell us a little bit about your firm?
Just like Mark said, I'm Shawn Fisher. I work with REDW. Our headquarters is in Albuquerque, New Mexico. We do have remote offices. Well, just like every other firm, remote offices in every other state and sometimes across the pond, across the world as well. But we have physical offices in Phoenix, Oklahoma City, and Salem, Oregon. We're a firm about 350 now, and we keep growing and we keep moving forward.
That's awesome. So, Shawn, one of the reasons I thought that you would be an excellent guest on this podcast is because of your background in sports and coaching, as well as how some of your experiences have really shaped your approach to leadership and career development. Why don't you tell us a little bit about that?
I think the sports has built my foundation on who I am today. Growing up in a very small town, that's what we had to do. We got to play sports, and it kept us out of trouble, right? And ever since then, I think a mentors in my life have always been, along with my mom, have been the coaches that have been part of my life for sure. And the ability to work as a team in an environment of a team aspect has been huge. I've once I graduated from college, I started coaching high school basketball here locally in Albuquerque, and I did that I did high school basketball for about 13 years.
Wow.
And I think that gave me the ability to truly learn how to talk to people in a way where they're freaking out. And with the technology background, people are always freaking out. If nothing's working. Whenever you're dealing with somebody's son or daughter, that is the holy grail of upset parent. And so being able to truly focus on how to talk with an individual that is extremely upset, or in a situation of talking to a referee or other colleague coaches, it gave me the ability to how to read the room and be able to de-escalate situations and truly get to the point of what needs to be discussed. And I still coach today. I coach my two kids in basketball, football, and softball and baseball. So I'm still on the coaching realm as well as the IT director. But those are what built my foundation of being able to really go inside of a meeting with a board of directors or others and truly be able to have a conversation and understand where they're coming from and listen. And I think that's a big piece, is being able to listen of what's going on.
Yeah, active listening is an absolutely critical skill, right? I mean, so many people, they're thinking about their response, not necessarily engaged in listening to the other person. And I love the way that you draw a parallel to high stakes, right? High stakes, the servers are down, people can't do the things that they need to do, versus my kid is involved in this, and I have a lot riding on this. It gives you that ability to learn how to communicate in crisis or in a high stakes environment.
Yeah, exactly right, Mark. When you talk about somebody's family and they're talking, that there's so much passion there, right? And then we have most people love their job or they wouldn't be doing it, right? And so there's passion in what they're doing for a living, and they want to be able to do it at a high efficiency and to the best of their ability. And that, when it comes down to IT, that's our world, to be able to allow them to do that job for sure. And so the parallel between coaching and and the IT world are very similar. It's kind of it's not very often that I meet another coach in the IT world for sure. It's a little different, and I've got that response as well. Oh, you coach basketball? You coach sports? Oh, okay, that's cool. Um, but there's such a parallel there, like you stated, of being able to understand those high stakes scenarios, those high
Hmm.
stake questions, and those high stake freakouts. And that's what I think has put me in the situation where I'm at right now, being able to listen and help those in those situations.
Yeah, no, that totally makes sense. Well, let's talk about another aspect of coaching, right? And that is obviously the team aspect of things. In some of the conversations you and I have had over the years, you've drawn parallels between a head coach's success and a leader's success in terms of their team. Can you elaborate a little bit on how building a strong team is critical to leadership and excellence?
Yeah, for sure. I think it's such a foundation, right? You have to build a foundation and a culture of how you want to lead. Not that you have to go with this is what we're doing and that's period, but building a culture on leadership. And honestly, Mark, I didn't have any other any other examples other than the sports world, so I kind of just went with it. Um, and how I've developed my team here at RDW is exactly how I feel Coach Popovich does at San Antonio Spurs. You know, he finds his weaknesses and he fills those spots with his assistants.
Mm.
And to recognize as a leader, we get in this world of we have to be perfect at everything. Well, a true leader just understands their weaknesses and be able to have those assistants around them to be able to truly build a true culture and a true foundation and a great team. And I've focused on really stepping back and understanding my weaknesses. Not that I want to keep them as a weakness, but also understanding where I can get help. And that's where I've really truly built the foundation of IT culture at RDW is around that understanding of my weaknesses and those that work with me, their weaknesses, and who can help throughout the pyramid of leadership. And I think that's been taken us a long way. You know, I have employees that have been around a long time, which is really not part of the IT industry. A little bit in the CPA world, but not in the IT industry. You know, I have some that have been around. I've been around RDW for 18 years. I have my right hand man's been here for 13, going on 14. I got multiple that are plus 10. I have multiple that are plus 5, and then some recent hires that are newbies, but very experienced in what they do. So the longevity of an IT team is also it, right? And I go back to the sports, of course, where and I use Coach Popovich because I think that he's one of the true mentors of NBA basketball, and Coach K from Duke as well. They built a foundation around them to help them, and it was hard for them to let their assistants go to be able to go and be other head coaches. And ultimately, I want anybody that's on my team to be able to grow and get to that part of whatever they want to do. If they want to be a leader, or if they want to be the best sysadmin they can possibly be, or the best developer, I want to cultivate that environment to build and be successful.
I love that, Sean. I think that's one of the things that you and I first connected on when we started talking about kind of leadership philosophy several years ago now. We were talking about the importance of having that coaching tree, right? That you're developing people not to keep them and just to make yourself better, but that you actually can have a greater impact on the profession by developing great people and then letting them loose on the world where they develop their own success, their own teams, and kind of really push that forward. And that really ties into your strengths based leadership as well, because you're going to always be looking to fill some of those gaps and how you go about that. Well, that kind of leads us into another topic, which is, you've been with the firm quite some time, and some of your people have as well. So what about succession planning? How do you look at that part of the leadership philosophy, and how do you go about developing people who are ready to step up, whether it's with you or somewhere else?
And I tell my guys all the time, once I win the lottery, I'm leaving them high and dry. No, but on a serious note, that's something that I think we get into this society of that. Oh man, we don't want to be replaced, right? We get to that. Oh, if I give them too much information, they're going to take my job. I don't have that mentality whatsoever. I want to feed as much information and knowledge to anybody that's around me, and that's not even in the IT world. Anybody that wants to listen to me, I would love to be able to push knowledge to them, and I like to absorb knowledge as well. As you know, I'm a learner. I'm a lifetime learner, and I always am looking for opportunities to grow, and I always want to grow those around me. I still look back to young men that I've coached in the past, and still to this day, I have many of them reach out to me, Coach, how's it going? And I make sure to say, hey, how are you? How's your family? How's everything going? Because I want to make sure they're growing as citizens, right? And I do that the same way with our team here at RDW. I want to make sure that not that they're going to be the greatest employee for RDW, but wherever they go, I want to help build that culture and build that succession of being able to move up and that want of wherever they want to go. Not everyone wants to be a leader, but I want them to still have that ability to take on tasks through our current situation, take on tasks to be able to grow. And that the piece of giving up too much information and someone's going to take my job, cool. If I've trained somebody to the ability they can take over my job, I have done exactly what I need to do for this world, right?
Yep.
And so that's how I look at it. I don't look at it as a negative. I always look at it as a positive, for sure, trying to build those individuals around me to be successful.
Yeah, and it makes a lot of sense when people are afraid about teaching other people how to do their job and everything else. That fear of the unknown is there. But there's another side to that coin, which is you can't move up yourself. You can't step into another role. You can't be promoted if there's no one to do the work that you're doing now. So, I think about it kind of like a ladder, right? Everybody kind of succeeds together, and that's really one of the keys. And I know that you talk about your culture there at REDW all the time, and you call it a we culture, right? Can you share some instances where some of your individual strengths have really meshed seamlessly into the team?
Oh yes, the we culture is big. I even when I talk about the IT team, I never say my team. I want to say us or we will help you with that. Never I will help you. One, because I want everybody else to understand we are a team. We're together as one, and we're going to move forward as one. Just like you said, up the ladder, and that's what we want. I have previously I've been told, why are you under a desk pulling a cable? Well, because we needed to get it done. And that's the mentality that has been kind of cultivated throughout our whole department on whatever it takes, let's go. The kind of motto that I want our department to go is let's try it. Let's move forward type scenario. And we are going to do it together. And even whenever I were coaching high school, our break, every time we came out of a timeout, it was together. 1, 2, 3, together. And I still push that togetherness through basically everything I do. One, because it's way easier to stand on a foundation of multiples than in a foundation of one.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And you talk about pulling cables under the desk and still doing tech support. I hear that all the time from IT leaders and people who want to be IT leaders. They're like, "Oh, I can't wait to get off the help desk." And the most successful IT leaders that I have talked to, they're not looking to not do some of those things. They think of that as a team sport,
Yeah.
and they're in it just as much as anybody else. And Shawn, talk a little bit about what leading from the front looks like for you.
And so I have the title as the front, right? I'm the IT director. I like to make sure that we're all in one line. Not so much leading to the front, not so much the V foundation, right? I want us all together. Whenever, even when I coach this as well, is that it's much harder to get through a solid foundational wall compared to a V structure where I can just walk along the side.
Mm.
And I think that leadership style kind of trickulates down where, man, he's here for us. He's there for us. Let's go. Let's go with them. And also the mistakes. Oh, I made this mistake. Cool. How are we going to find the opportunity? And it's not a loss. And when I coached, I never said we lost the game. We're going to be able to have opportunities. Now let's find those opportunities. How do we fix this? How do we move forward? We don't want the opportunity to come up and up and up and up multiple times. We want to be able to solve it and get that opportunity to move forward. And we do that as one group, as one line. And I know you said to talk about how you lead from the front, but you know what? I'm not a leader from the back. I don't push. I want them to come with me. And that's kind of how I lead that whole scenario.
Yeah, I think that's a great way to frame that out. It makes a lot of sense, and definitely reflects what I know of you. So tell me a little bit about what the impact of this coaching mindset, this coaching mentality for you and the IT team. What's been the impact for your firm?
I think our firm has drastically changed in the last 4 to 5 years. I think I've since I've been around for so long. I think I've been the IT director for 4 years now. But we've drastically changed, not just in numbers, but leadership and the emphasis of building innovation through technology. Really great support from our leadership, our partner group, our board of directors on really quantifying that want to grow with a emphasis in technology. And then that the coaching aspect of it has been more of, we are an execution department. We're not just a yes department and an idea department. We will go to the next level we will execute what needs to be done. And I think that has taken over a lot. That mentality is kind of spread throughout our entire firm of, great idea, let's execute it. Let's make sure we finish it. Just like a coach goes in a timeout and draws up a play on their whiteboard and says, let's do this, the team goes out and executes that play. And sometimes they score and sometimes they don't, and that's just the way of life. And so I think that whole process has went across our entire culture at REDW of, let's execute. Oh, maybe that wasn't the right execution. It didn't work. Now let's re-go to the table and figure out what we can do. And I think our managing partner has done a great job really pushing that execution piece throughout our firm.
Awesome. Well, believe it or not, we are actually coming to the end of our time here, but I do have one last question for you, Shawn. What advice do you have for others who might be looking to apply a sports-related leadership kind of principle to their own careers or to their own firms?
The biggest piece is understand your weaknesses and fill those spots, fill those gaps. Not with the mindset of, if I have someone fill these gaps, they're going to take my job, to the mindset of, we're going to build a much stronger foundation with all of our gaps filled. And emphasize that, yep. And I tell my team all the time, I have weaknesses. They know them. They know where they can truly help me out a ton, and I know where I can truly help them out a ton. But understanding those weaknesses and building that foundation where all those gaps are filled, just like a bridge. If you miss a board 3 or 4 times, you're going to have a problem. You're probably going to fall into the water. So try to make sure those boards are in place and they're secure. And I think that's the biggest advice I'd give is understand your weaknesses, build a team to cultivate yourself and those weaknesses, and try to secure those boards on a daily basis.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for your time today, Shawn. It was amazing to hear your insights. And for our listeners, if you enjoyed this conversation, we release new episodes every Tuesday morning. We've talked about leadership today, but we also cover topics related to technology, process, talent, and growth. What all the topics have in common is that they are crucial to your firm's success in helping you solve a critical business issue in 20 minutes or less. So if you like what you heard, please subscribe, and thank you for listening.